Yes, Ighalo's good enough. Don't start with Ighalo, please. Do not go there. That and more coming up on today's Q&A, as I am joined by a very special guest from Stretford, Paddock. Motty, how are you doing?
I'm good, mate. It's good to see you again. Thanks for having us on.
Good, you too. Right, let's get into it. I am going to ask you the first question. So this is from Football Infinity, who says, what do you make of the Havertz to Chelsea deal? Will this hamper the progress of Mason Mount, who has been pivotal for Chelsea this season, and the summer signing of Hakim Ziyech, sorry if I said that wrong, because both like to operate in the same number 10 spot where Havertz thrives? Love from India. Thank you.
I think when you look at the Chelsea team, unless Mason Mount's had a good season, he's been a little bit inconsistent though. You look at Havertz, who he's been banging in the goals in Germany. He's been getting assists as well. I think he's got 12 goals in the Bundesliga, 6 assists, which is pretty impressive. And I think you need options. The games come thick and fast. We've seen Chelsea who've had a decent season under Frank Lampard. I don't think they've shone quite as much as some people have made out. They had a sort of a purple patch, didn't they? Sort of after the initial few games where they went on that fantastic run. Tammy Abraham was banging in the goals, Mason Mount was flying, and they looked really strong. But then they tailed off a little bit. And I think when you've got so many games, not just in the Premier League, but in Europe, whether that's the Champions League or the Europa, depending on where they end up at the time of recording, we don't know, of course. So you do need options. So if they were to bring in Havertz, I don't think that's going to hamper anyone's progression, because these players are interchangeable as well. Not only can you replace them with each other, they can operate in different roles. I know they prefer the number 10, but in modern football, that's often the way some of them will move onto a sort of a false 9, drift out wide. There's enough sort of scope there to move those players around and play them in the same team at times as well. So I think Chelsea have sort of set their stall out. They've been making deals early, obviously with the likes of Werner as well coming in. And I think that's the right thing for them to do. They need options, they need to get these deals done, and they need to give themselves a squad that can challenge, because Chelsea are sort of used to challenging for titles. That's sort of since the Abramovich era started, that's what they've been doing. So yes, while going for top 4 is all well and good, I think most Chelsea fans will expect to see them, maybe not next season, but within the next couple of seasons, mounting a title challenge. And these are the sort of signings you need to make to do that. Yeah,
definitely. Okay, so next one, you're going to be asking me this one.
Yeah. Quick question here. I think this is in from Le Beast. Where do you think Alaba will go?
Okay, so I have seen something about Leroy Sané, apparently. He's got his feet right under the table at Bayern, and he's already whispering in Alaba's ear to not go to City. And he said, no, you need to stay here with me. We're going to be best friends and plait each other's hair and, have the best time together. But the thing is, you've also got at Bayern, you've got Alphonso Davies, who plays in the same position, is younger and seems to be a very talented footballer. So at 28, what's going to happen? I mean, he could go to Real Madrid as a bit of a replacement for Marcelo, maybe if they don't have the faith in Mendy, but I'm not too sure if I can see that happening. I think at City, they've also got a Mendy and is it Zinchenko, I think, that are kind of playing in that position. I think that could be a good option for him. It totally depends what he wants, I guess. If he's happy at Bayern and playing in and out with Davies and his best friend Leroy Sané, then maybe he's happy enough there. But I think, as much as it does pain me to say, I think I could maybe see him playing for City, which will be great for us to be watching next season.
Yeah, from a United point of view, the last thing we want to see is City getting any stronger. But no, I think you're right, definitely.
Is it me next?
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
I am asking. Okay, so I think this question was originally put to me, but I thought I'd put it to you just for fun. You could answer the difficult one. So this is from Ayman Abdul Samad. So Manchester United are in a bit of a hiccup. What do you think they need to do to improve the most if they ever want to be in top 4 or challenging for the Premier League, i.e. De Gea, manager, other positions? Well, I've got news for you. We are in the top 4 at the moment, so there.
Third.
Yes, third.
No, it's a really good question, that, because I think with United, I mean, David De Gea, you could spend all day chatting about him. We know about he's had his issues. Is his United career over? I don't think it is. Dean Henderson is an option. He's coming through. He's had a good season at Sheffield United, but I've often said, being number one for Sheffield United and being number one for Manchester United are two completely different things. And I think at the moment, I think Ollie's still got faith in David De Gea. He's on a massive contract.
That's the thing,
so
isn't it?
I don't see him going anywhere, to be honest with you. Even the United bench, I think he's going to be United's number one for a little while yet. And he's only 29. It's a bit too soon to throw him under the bus. We know what he's capable of. Yes, we do need to see him getting back to his best form. He hasn't had not just a great season, he's not had a great sort of 18 months, but we've still seen glimpses of the old David De Gea, so I don't think he's done just yet. And I expect Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to stay faithful to him and keep faith in him. I think in terms of what we need to improve the most, I think it's the squad. I think United's sort of starting 11 when everyone's fit isn't that bad. I think it's an 11 that can challenge anyone. The problem is we're over-reliant on the same players week in, week out, and we've seen it towards the end of this season. Players who look a bit leggy, who look tired, keep getting thrown in because we need them, the likes of Bruno, the likes of Rashford. They're playing pretty much every game, regardless of how tired they look, because we're so reliant on him. And I think you need a better squad. Listen, we all love the likes of Odi and Ighalo. We love Scott McTominay and Fred. These are crowd favourites. But are they good enough to challenge?
Yes, Ighalo's good enough. Don't start with Ighalo, please. Do not go there with Ighalo.
Camera about questioning Odi and Ighalo. Everyone loves him. But yeah, listen, he is a bit of a cult hero already. You know, you have to start thinking towards title challenging players. Is he good enough for a title challenge? Are some of the other players I mentioned good enough for a title challenge? Probably not. So I think we need to give ourselves options. You know, we spoke earlier about Chelsea giving themselves options, how they've not just got Mount, they're going to go for players like Havertz and bringing in the likes of Werner and give themselves a bit of a stronger squad. You should always have sort of 14 or 15 players who would be considered first team players, if that makes sense. Not just an 11 and then a second team. You should have around 14 or 15 players who would all consider themselves good enough to start and starting in a team. That's what we had under Sir Alex Ferguson. And if we want to get back to those levels, that's what we need to get. So we've been linked with the likes of Jadon Sancho. There was a rumour doing the rounds recently. They were in for Ismail Assar as well. I don't know how true that is. But either way you look at it, United need to bring in players that are good enough to get them challenging again. Give ourselves options, give competition for players. And if we do pick up one or two injuries, we're not relying on players who aren't really good enough.
OK, you're asking me the next question?
Yes, this is from Brandon Bora. Signings by the big six sides in the relegation zone in the Premier League have proven to be quite beneficial and cost-effective in recent times. You look at Liverpool buying Andrew Robertson from Hull. Considering Arsenal and Spurs' recent fall from grace, which two players from sides in the relegation zone should those clubs reach out? Should they try to sign in order to improve their teams for the next coming season?
Ooh, okay. You know what? I do like a good robbery of some relegation zone players, I must admit. But I think
that's
Arsenal...
going to get clipped. So people are going to clip that. It's just a good robbery. What?
A good robbery. I don't do robberies, guys, just so you know.
Yeah, there you go.
So I think for Arsenal, obviously, defenders. They need defenders. I think, obviously, Ake is being discussed for City. Maybe if Arsenal were able to get hold of him, he is in demand. Why not try and go for him? Obviously, the big clubs think that he's good enough, so he's definitely good enough for Arsenal. The other defender that maybe comes to mind is somebody like Mings. Again, a very good defender. And I think at the moment, the way things are going for Arsenal, I think just get some signings, some decent signings. Like I say, I'm sure they'll probably be going for defenders that are maybe, I don't know, at bigger clubs. But as we've seen before, getting some relegation zone players is not a bad thing. So I would probably go with those two just because I think Arsenal need defenders. I think with Spurs, I know that Max Aarons has already been on their radar. Obviously, he can play at left or right back. I think he's been probably the best thing to come out of Norwich this season. I don't think they've had much to shout about. And he is probably the only decent player. Well, not decent player. I'm sure there's some good players. But the main star of the show. And I think they're going to have to come to terms with the fact that they will be losing him to somebody. And I would probably say... I don't know, it's hard. But I guess if you look at their attacking midfield, I think... You've got somebody like Ali, who maybe hasn't been as fantastic. Maybe they're going to look at somebody like a Grealish from Villa. Who knows? I know that obviously United are looking at him, but maybe they will go into the race for him again. So they've got another option in that attacking midfield, because let's face it, I think Dele Alli has kind of crashed and burned a little bit for me. It seems to be going well and then something happens or there's an injury or whatever. So yes, I think those would be mine. But like I say, I'm sure these clubs are probably going to be looking at bigger names anyway. Okay, so next question for you, Jay. This is from Dank Fet. Great name. With rumoured signings such as Lozano, Tonali and Jovic, could AC Milan challenge for Europe next season?
I mean, I think they could challenge for Europe, yeah. But I think, if you're a Milan fan, AC Milan fan, you want a little bit more than that, don't you? I mean, what are they, 21 points behind Juve in Serie A, or thereabouts at the time recorded, which, it's similar to the sort of situation United find themselves in when we're so far behind the top. And, historically, you used to be to challenging for those types of honours, not just settling for Europe, but you have to be honest about where you are and the progress you've got to make. So, in terms of those signings, I mean, Irving Lozano, he's done okay at Napoli. I don't think he's really had the season that a lot of Napoli fans were hoping for. If you look at his numbers and how he was doing at PSV, he was absolutely flying. He was banging him in and getting assists left, right and centre. I know, obviously, it's different levels than Serie A, but I don't quite think he's been the player that Napoli wanted. Hence the reason he's been linked with a move, I'm guessing, as well. So, would he improve Milan's team? Yes, he probably would. I just don't know if that's the sort of signing that would make them kick on massively. Or the other players you've mentioned, Jovic, he's not had the greatest time, has he, at Real Madrid? He's sort of struggled a little bit, hasn't really been that effective, and I think there's sort of he's been there a season, he's already been linked with a move. That speaks volumes, done it, for a club team that have done really well, Real Madrid, this season. But yeah,
he's done all right. He's got a La Liga trophy under his belt, hasn't he?
Yeah.
How much did he bring to that trophy winning team? I don't know, but you can't take that away from him.
I don't want to be harsh anyway. Anderson's got 4 of them, hasn't he, in the Premier League? But it's like, Luke Chadwick's got 1. You can get these medals sometimes without always being the most effective player. Yes. I don't mean to disparage those United legends, but yes, it does happen. So yeah, he has picked up that. But again, the fact that you're saying that, he could be linked with a move to Milan, and he's got 2 goals, I think, in the league this season. I know he's not just about goals, but it hasn't been that impressive, and I don't really think Zidane fancies him that much as well. So it looks like it could be a move. It's always weird when you have a season somewhere like Real Madrid and you've not quite hit the heights that you've reached previously. Does that mean that you spent it, you washed up? Not at all. It doesn't, but it does mean that you do need to sort of kickstart your career again. And Milan would be a good place to do that. It's a massive club, great fans. He goes there and you bring in 1 or 2 other signings, then he could be part of a sort of a rebuilding process. Maybe that would suit him as well, because as we've said, this isn't the same player that we saw at Frankfurt at all. It's not really happened for him at the Bernabeu, and I think a move could be best all round. And yeah, if he goes to Milan, it improves them. Tonali, I don't know. I'm doubtful that move will happen. We'll have to see. I'm not too sure about that one. But we know that AC Milan are going to they need to improve. They tend to be sort of over reliant on. Forgive my pronunciation here, but Hakan Calhanoglu. Did I say that right? Yeah. I gave him my best go. It's my accent. Who, he is productive, but he does take a lot of shots. He likes a lot of shots outside the box as well. And it's like, they can be a little bit over reliant on someone who doesn't always deliver. I know he's had a decent season, but it's not fantastic. So they may have to adapt if they're going to bring these players in. They may have to find a different type of system to get the best out of some of these players, because they can't all be sort of playing the same way and over-reliant on the players I've mentioned as well. So, in answer to the question, yes, those players will probably improve them towards, competing, but I think they need a little bit more if they're going to get back to where, historically, AC Milan should be. Agreed.
Okay, so last question for you to be asking me.
Yeah, this is from Rajo Bhatia. Forgive me if I pronounce your name wrong, as you may have guessed pronunciation, can't get that right. Pronunciation isn't my strong point. Who deserves the Premier League PFA Player of the Year this season? With the likes of Kevin De Bruyne, Henderson, Vardy, etc., who do you think deserves it?
I know people might jump to Vardy because it's looking like he's getting this golden boot at the moment, I think. it's weird to look at Leicester at the moment and think that he is actually winning the Golden Boot when you look at how poor they have been. Henderson, yes, very good captain for Liverpool, great squad, great squad player, as in he's not like a standout. People are going to have a go at me now for slagging off Jordan Henderson. I'm not at all. He's not a great squad player, a great team player is what I mean, sorry. He's not, the Salah, the Mane kind of standout, but he is still vital to that Liverpool team. For me, again, pains me to say it, I would probably go with De Bruyne. I know that he's getting close to that, I think, is it Thierry Henry's assist record? Again, this really hurts my heart talking about it, but he has been brilliant. I think he's a fantastic player. I think he is a massive reason as to why City are as fantastic as they are at the moment. Again, City fantastic, hurts me. But yeah, I think he's been all round, he's been a fantastic player for City, and he's one of the best in the world at the moment with what he does, and I think, I can see him winning it. What about you?
No, I agree with that. I mean, again, obvious disclaimer, it pains me to see Liverpool and City players fighting out for PFA Player of the Year, although, again, how much does it matter? I'm old enough to remember when we won the treble and David Ginola won PFA Player of the Year, so it can be a little bit nonsensical at times. But in terms of you want to talk about the best player in the Premier League this season, I'm going to throw Bruno's hat into the ring, but he's not played enough games, just as a United fan, so I'm not saying he deserves it. But of the ones you mentioned, Kevin De Bruyne has been the better player. Yeah. Jordan Henderson's been a decent player in a very good team, in the likes of Salah, Mane, Van Dijk, Trent. I think Trent's had a better season than Jordan Henderson in that team, if I'm being honest. Trent Alexander-Arnold. So if I was to pick a Scouser, I'd pick him. But I think overall, De Bruyne has been the best player. But as I said earlier, I think a lot of the time it's when the voting is, whether, players, you play against a team and one player has a mint game, then your entire team can vote for them. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So it gets a little bit skewed at times. So, but yeah, in answer to your question, I'd probably go with De Bruyne. Pains me to say.
Yes. Well, that is all from us today. Don't forget to look out for our Q&A extra, where myself and Jay will be going through a few more topics. Thank you for your questions. Do not forget to look out in the community tab on a Wednesday evening, where you can put your questions to us for Friday's episode. Thank you, Jay, for joining me. It's been lovely having you.
It's been great, even though we did have to talk about, City and Liverpool players doing really well. It was all right. It's good stuff. I enjoyed it.
But yeah, that's all from us until next week, and we will see you guys later.